Okay, we were talking about compositions, and just somewhat recapping compositions, that a composition is when I put one function inside another. That this symbol here is going to be read f of g of x. It's the same thing as putting this right here is going to be read f of g of x, and f of g of x written this way. See if we can write it so you can read it. Both are read f of g of x, and it's one function that takes the place of two functions that were used successfully, sequentially. There's the word sequentially, not successfully, sequentially. What we're going to concentrate, there's the word I'm searching for, what we're going to concentrate on is finding these formulas for these guys. So we'll start by just doing, recapping where we, finding a formula here. So let's do f of x equal 2x plus 4 and g of x equals x squared minus 3. Find f of g of x. So f of g of x, and recapping because a video that I abandoned had a minus 2 there. So on the video previous to this, and I don't remember exactly where we stopped off, and I'm essentially a lazy person, and I didn't want to redo the whole video because there was a mistake right at the end. So if you watched the previous video and there was a minus 2 here, there was a minus 2 instead of a 3, or there was a 2 over here, there was a slight typo here in the previous video, just ignore that part. I didn't want to redo a video for a mistake clear at the end. So that being said, let's do this guy. F of x equal 2x plus 3. G of x equal x squared minus 3. Find f of g of x. The first thing I do is just rewrite it in its nested format, putting the g inside of f, because that's what composition really is. Then I go to the inside, and in this case I replace g with what it's equal to, x squared minus 3. Then I use F's rule, 2x plus 4, but instead of writing the x, I write x squared minus 3, whatever's in parentheses. So I keep the 2, I get to the x, but instead of writing x, I write x squared minus 3, I keep the plus 4. So this is F's rule, 2x plus 4, but instead of writing an x, I write what's in the parentheses, the x squared minus 3, and then we just simplify. Distribute, add, there's my formula. Okay, so let's do it again. This time let's find g of f of x. And so I start by nesting it together. Then I start on the inside. I replace f with its formula, and f's formula is 2x plus 4. So first one, replace f of x with its rule of 2x plus 4. So there's step 1. Next, I'm going to use f's or g's rule. I'm going to use g's rule right there, x squared minus 3. I'm going to use its rule, replacing the x with whatever in parentheses. So instead of x squared, I'm going to write 2x plus 4 quantity squared. Careful use of parentheses. You want to do the whole square, you want the whole replacement squared. Then the rest of the formula, minus 3. So step 2, use g's rule of x squared minus 3, replace the x with 2x plus 4. So x squared minus 3, but instead of an x, 2x plus 4. And then we just simplify. And I notice my numbering now is not the same as it was up here, so we'll make this step 1 right here. So all this is step 1, and then I'll renumber my steps. Then everything will match. 2, 3, 4. There, my steps now match. Simplifying this, going to get ready to FOIL this. So that's 2x plus 4 times 2x plus 4 minus 3. FOIL. So I get 4x squared plus 8x plus 8x plus 16 minus 3, which is give me 4x squared plus 16x plus 13. And there, I found it. And then you just stop. What these guys are asking for is just to find the rule, just to find the formula. Really common mistake, people now set this equal to 0 and do bizarre stuff. It's not asking for that. There will be times when we do want to set things equal to 0 and solve, but this ain't it. This is just asking for the rule. Give me the formula. So there's f of g, and the thing we want to notice here is these guys are not equal to each other. G of f and f of g, not equal to each other. There is a time when they can be equal to each other, but generally they're not. Then it also asks for f of g of 3. The easiest way to do that is just to rewrite it in its nested format and then do it directly. Note, g of 3, using my formula for g, that's going to be 3 squared minus 3, 9 minus 3, for 6. And so then that makes this f of 6. Then just use the formula for 6, for f, excuse me, not for 6. The formula for f, so 2 times 6 plus 4, for 12 plus 4, for 16. Now there we did it directly. Didn't find a formula, we just plugged things in and got 16. But up here, can we get it all on one page? Not quite. Up here, this guy was the formula for f of g. Here we did it directly without finding a formula. Up here we found the formula for f of g. So if I plug 3 into this formula, that should match this answer. So if I plug 3 into this formula, so here f of g of 3 did it without a formula, got 16. Here's the formula for f of g. If I plug 3 in here, 3 squared is 9. 9 times 2, 18. 18 minus 2, 16. 16 down here. So you actually had a choice for doing this problem. Do it what I think is the easier way. Or, if you had the formula, plug in the formula. Or if you didn't have the formula, you could find the formula, plug in 3. So there were some choices here. This, I think, is the easier way, which is why I did it. Okay, moving on. Do the same things here, but we got 2 new functions. So doing all 3. F of g of x. First, start by rewriting it. So there's step 1. Rewrite it so it's nested. Then the second step. Go inside, replace g of x in this case with its formula. So step 2, replace g of x with its rule, its formula. Then my third step, use f's formula, but replace the x with whatever I have in parentheses. So there's f's formula right there, so 4. Then do the replacement, x minus 7 over 4. Replacing the x with whatever I have parentheses, then the rest of the formula plus 7. So step 3, replace the x in f's rule with x minus 7 over 4. So f's rule, let's put it this way, f's rule of what was it, 4x plus 7 with x minus 7 over 4. So I keep the 4, I do the replacement, keep the plus 7, and then step 4, simplify. Well, this simplifies pretty easy. Those 4's cancel. So I get x minus 7 plus 7 for x. So there's f of g. Doing it again, g of f of x, but doing it the other way around. Start by rewriting it. So there's step 1. Step 2, replace f of x with its rule of 4x plus 7. So that's going to be g of 4x plus 7. So there's step 2. Then step 3, use g's rule of x minus 7 over 4, replacing the x with whatever I have in parentheses, 4x plus 7. So, use that rule. X, don't write the x, do the replacement. So there's the replacement. So I did the replacement, then the rest of the rule says minus 7 all over 4. And then step 4, simplify. And so those 7's are going to cancel. And I get 4x over 4 for x. And so here's the case when f of g and g of f actually equaled each other. And we will learn in section 2.7 there is actually a reason why they did equal each other. As a general rule, however, the compositions f of g, g of f are not going to be equal to each other. But there's going to be a special case of functions where they are equal to, and that's something we'll study in the next section. Then it asks me for f of g of 3. And I think it's just as easy just to nest it and then work with the functions individually. I think is the easiest way to do this. So we're going to note that g of 3, using g's formula, which is right up there, x minus 7 over 4, is going to be 3 minus 7 over 4, which is negative 4 over 4, negative 1. And so this becomes f of negative 1. Then use f's formula, which was f was 4x plus 7. So use f's formula, 4x plus 7. And so 4 times negative 1 plus 7, negative 4 plus 7 equals 3. And so there's that problem. And we'll make that the end of this video.